In this video, what I'm going to do is just show the kind of flexion that I have so far. You know, one thing that's really important to remember if you are going through this is you have to be easy on yourself, okay? What might not seem big to somebody that has not gone through this is absolutely massive for us. So the other day I was out with my partner and my friends, and I sat on the edge of the car and I tried to bend my leg, which this was the flexion that I got. Look at that. And I'm stoked. I'm stoked. So my 6-week post-op check is in 3.5 weeks, and I wanted to be at 90 degrees flexion. That is all my brace will allow me to go to. And you know what? Look at that. I'm nearly there. I've got my ways to go. I know that, but I'm super stoked and I'm so proud of myself. Now, something that was really important to me, and I celebrated with myself today. I was like, yeah, Mon, like, you've got this shit, bitch. Like, you go. Was that obviously in those photos, what do I have on my side? Gravity, right? Because I'm hanging down, my leg's hanging down, so automatically my leg is going to try to bend because of gravity. So this morning I moved my pillow. What I will say is that the only reason my leg is still elevated on a pillow is because the extension of my brace is at 20 degrees. So my leg is constantly like that, right? I can't straighten it because they're trying to keep my femur off of my tibia because those two were buddies for a little bit too long, if you get what I mean. And so they're just making sure that they're not touching for 6 weeks. So yeah, that's why it's still elevated. The swelling has gone down absolutely amazingly. There still is a bit of swelling around the back of my knee and the front of my knee, but nothing compared to what it was. But yeah, as far as elevation goes, it is constantly elevated because due to the fact of not being able to straighten it, it's not very comfortable not having anything under it. But what I did today was this. Right, it might not look like much to people that have not gone through it, but that is a massive deal, and I'm going to celebrate myself for that, you know, because it is progress. I mean, I could be 3.5 weeks out from my post-op check and I could only be sitting at 25 degrees. Do you know what I mean? So I'm grateful for all the movements that I'm making. One thing I will mention, if you are going through this and you're non-weight bearing still and you kind of want a few exercises to do, the ones that I have been doing are leg raises, so just these. You can turn on your side and do side ones. I've done a few of those. And sometimes you can just lift your leg and try to hold it for as much as you can tolerate. I'd start small, maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Listen to your body because your body is going to know what it can handle. So I do listen. Now that's also another thing I'll say quickly as well, is when I had the staples in, so if you're fresh out of surgery and you haven't had your staples removed yet, don't be too hard on yourself, because I would push myself the last couple of days that I had them, because obviously the first week and a little bit, that was absolute torture. And I kind of got to a comfortability, as comfortable as I could get to feel like, okay, I'm going to try and do some leg raises. And the most that I could do at a time was 17. Now, when the staples were removed, the next day I managed to do 150 leg raises, doing 50 at a time 3 times. And that was massive progress. That was so exciting. So, you know, I definitely say that is, don't go hard on yourself if you feel like, oh, well, I can't do that. Because if you do have staples in, it can add to it, because for me personally, at least, they would start to twinge and it would be very uncomfortable. What else? So also another thing as well is, regardless of whether you've got your leg elevated or not, make sure you are turning your ankle, right? You want to be like moving your ankle, because that's another thing I've noticed on the page, is that, you know, when people do start full weight bearing or partially weight bearing, their ankles are very sore, they swell up, they're very stiff. So try and get as much movement as you can in that foot, in that ankle, because, you know, you can't walk without an ankle. You can't walk without a foot, just as much as you can't walk without a knee. So yeah, definitely do that. But as for everything else, you know, I'm really stoked with the progress I'm making. I'm very proud of myself. I will not push myself. And that's the same for when I go to physio. If I know, okay, this is going to be too much on my body, I need to know that I will stand my ground. Because I'm not going to risk re-injuring myself to meet somebody else's expectations. In saying that though, there is going to be a difference between knowing you physically can't handle it and your body won't support you, between the mental obstacle that it's going to take. That's something I've also learned from the pages, is that, you know, your brain is going to try to protect your body, right? So your brain might say, nah, we can't do this, let's stop there. But your body can do it, you know, but there is going to be that that mental blockage, which is normal. Obviously, I can't speak a lot on it from personal experience yet, because I have not started rehab yet. I have booked in my first physio appointment for the 12th of April, which is the afternoon I see my surgeon. So, you know, and here's hoping that goes well. Obviously, once I have that, I have the x-rays and stuff. I'll probably do a video about those, that you guys know how many plates or screws or, you know, whatever is actually in my leg. And when I say you guys, I mean hi mum, hi Kate. I'm just joking. But yeah, so I'll definitely do that, because I think ultimately, you know, I've said it before, I do want this to be something that anyone going through this can be a part of, you know, my journey to recovery. Because at the end of the day, I want to motivate people, because I found it really hard myself, just not feeling like I had people's own experiences. You know, I wanted to know people got back to surfing and skating and rock climbing and jumping and swimming and walking and running. And, you know, I'm not a runner. I wasn't a runner before this, won't be a runner after this, but I needed to know that that was an option for me, you know. So I want to be that for someone if I can. I want to be that motivation, like, look, I went through this. It's the worst injury in the world. It is painful. It is emotional. It is crippling emotionally. But look at me now. I'm back to doing what I love, and I'm living life like I never had it. And, you know, I'll get there, whether it's in a year, whether it's in 2 years, whether I'm 95 and I still have a few tears to shed about the injury, you know. But I want to be that motivation for people, and I want to be that voice as well, you know, like for people that have their support system that maybe just don't really understand the severity of the injury in itself. Because, you know, unfortunately we do and will always have people like that in our lives that just won't understand the severity. You know, I've had a few comments like that, you know. Everyone on the page as well has also had that, because, you know, you hear a broken bone, you think, okay, cast it up, do the surgery, you're fine to go. But do you know, here's an interesting fact, is that orthopedic surgeries are actually listed as like the worst surgeries you can have, because imagine someone coming into your bones and drilling nails and screws through them. Doesn't sound very comfortable, does it? And it's not. But yeah, so as far as everything else goes, mentally, I am good. I am absolutely stoked because, you know, one thing that I've come to realize is that, yes, I've got this awful injury. I've had to deal with a whole lot of shit. But you know what? I've got a good life. I'm very lucky to have the life that I have. I'm very lucky to have the people in my life that I have. And I'm very lucky to have a roof over my head. You know, there are things that we just have so much to be grateful for, and I think that's kind of a really beautiful silver lining about this injury, is that it makes you appreciate what you have and not what you don't have. You know, I appreciate that I'm going to walk again. I appreciate that I'm going to surf again, because there are people out there that won't ever get to do that again. So I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful. And like I've said a trillion times, would I go through it again? Honestly, I would, because the lessons that I've learnt about life, about the people I was surrounding myself with, about myself, you know, I couldn't read those lessons out of a book. I couldn't live those lessons through someone else. I had to go through this to be where I am today, and to just take a break and figure life out. And so it's been really beautiful, and I'm really grateful. You know, my relationship is the strongest it's ever been, and you know, the bonds that I've made with all these new people has just been absolutely life-changing. So always remember, if you are going through this is a life-changing injury, not a life-ending one. And I sure as shit will not be letting it end my life. You know what? And that's the beautiful thing as well, is I feel like my life is just beginning. You know, I've gone through a lot of shit, so much. That would be like a 4-hour documentary on YouTube. I've gone through a lot in my life, and I feel like this is my chance to live, you know, to really find life and be one with it, you know. And that's also another thing that I want to take away from this, and I want you to take away from this, is that I'm not going to live my life in fear. Because the thing is that even if this injury didn't happen, I could be needing to take a shit and run to the toilet, slip over and break my spine. Injuries, they happen, and we can't live our lives in fear, because, you know, we only get one. Well, I mean, unless you get reincarnated as like a moth or something, but I mean, like, this is my one and only life as Monique. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to live it to the fullest, and I'm going to take all the lessons that I got from this injury, and I'm going to go out there when I can, and I'm going to live my life to the fullest, and I'm not going to take anything for granted, whether it's walking to the toilet or, you know, standing up and looking in the mirror at my cool outfit because I look cool. Do you know what I mean? So it's beautiful. I'd go through it all over again if I had to. But yeah, if you are going through this, just hold on. And just know that everything's going to be okay. There are going to be days where you're like, nothing is okay. I'm never going to be okay. I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to live the life that I used to live. You will. In time, you have to let your body heal. And you have to, honestly, take the opportunity and the time to heal your brain just as much as your bones are healing. Because that's all I'll say. Anyways, I'm going to end this video. Look at that bend. Yeah. And, yeah. I will update you guys soon.